Before we begin today's lecture, I'd like to clear some air. Please note that there were three notable figures named Samuel Johnson, often confused due to their overlapping eras. The first Samuel Johnson is the Samuel Johnson from 1649 to 1703. He was an English clergyman and political pamphleteer, known for his strong Whig views and vocal support of the Glorious Revolution. Then there's Samuel Johnson, the American theologian, who was alive from 1696 to 1772. He was the first president of the King's College, now known as Columbia University, who blended Anglicanism with Enlightenment thought in colonial America. Lastly, we have Dr. Samuel Johnson, who was alive from 1709 to 1784. He was an English writer, moralist, and Tory intellectual, best known for compiling a dictionary of the English language and shaping 18th century literary criticism. Each of these Samuel Johnsons had distinct ideologies and context, so it's important to separate them clearly. Today we'll be discussing Dr. Samuel Johnson, the Tory intellectual. Now let's begin. Samuel Johnson was a poet, satirist, critic, lexicographer, and dyed-in-the-wool conservative. Johnson's works are the productions of a mind which was profoundly pessimistic and innately melancholic. He was desperately conservative in religion and politics because he believed that only the maintenance of order protected individuals and whole human societies from despair, and that authority and tradition were not ends in themselves but rather means of upholding and sustaining order. He despised the French philosophies, remarking of Voltaire and Rousseau that it is too difficult to settle the proportion of iniquity between them. When his reason conflicted with his fear of disorder, that fear often won out and manifested itself in an outburst of temper or a refusal to pursue the subject further. A friend wrote that his religion made his extraordinary talents of mind continually at war with each other. But when he came upon scientific evidence which suggested that the biblical account of the creation of the earth could not be taken literally, he rejected it out of hand. But praise for Johnson has been spread since James Boswell's Life of Samuel Johnson was published in 1791. Johnson scholar Jack Lynch asserts that Johnson's A Dictionary of the English Language is the work that defined the English language. The English language was doing pretty well before Johnson got involved. Nevertheless, he has been taken for the Jupiter of lexicography since before his dictionary appeared in print in 1755. For all the mythology, you'd think English vocabulary had sprung fully formed and irreproachable from his prominent Augustan forehead. Conventional wisdom holds that Johnson single-handedly conceived and produced a dictionary of the English language. Though he gave up several years of full-time work to the dictionary, Johnson wasn't the first professional lexicographer. John Kersey, author of A New English Dictionary published in 1702, probably owns that distinction. And Johnson did not write his dictionary alone. He had half a dozen assistants, and the history of lexicography tells us that assistants influenced dictionary making more than either 18th century social hierarchies or the great author theory behind Johnson's reputation admits. 18th century England was also known as the Age of Elegance. Real civilization, superior to the old classical civilization of Greek and Rome, to which the 18th century compared itself, had been achieved at last. Now, society, that is persons of position, wealth, and influence, could enjoy it. At the beginning of this period, literature was created for the small society of important and influential people. Some of his important literary contributions include, as mentioned before, A Dictionary of English Language written in 1755, Lives of the Poets written in 1779, and essays in The Rambler and The Idler. Let's now look at some of the important philosophies given by Dr. Johnson. He believed in the original sin, human fallibility, and the need for moral discipline. Let us discuss all of these concepts in detail. The original sin is the doctrine that all humans inherit a sinful nature from Adam and Eve's disobedience in the Garden of Eden. It's a core Christian belief that human beings are born morally flawed, inclined towards selfishness, pride, and error. For Johnson, this meant no society or government could be perfect, because humans themselves are fundamentally imperfect. And because they are imperfect, they must be guided by morality. Next is human fallibility, the idea that humans are prone to error, both morally and intellectually. Johnson believed people make poor judgments due to self-interest, emotion, or ignorance. This justified the need for stable institutions like monarchy and the church to guide and restrain the people. Moral discipline. It is the belief that individuals must train and control their desires and behavior through reason, habit, and religious or ethical principles. For Johnson, moral discipline was the only way to combat original sin and fallibility. It required virtue, humility, and restraint, not idealistic revolution or untested freedoms. He supported the Church of England as a moral bedrock of society. He has famously said that subordination is the great general principle of society. He distrusted abstract theories which were broad, often speculative ideas about how society should work rather than how it actually does. This includes the social contract theory, which is the idea taken from Locke and Rousseau that governments are formed by a contract between the people and the rulers, and power ultimately belongs to the people. And also the ideas of utopian politics, the belief that a perfect or ideal society can be created through rational design or radical change. Johnson did not believe in these utopian politics either. He did not support these theories because he believed that they not only were naive, built on false assumption that people are rational, fair, and capable of governing themselves wisely, but they also destabilized tradition, bringing disorder, revolution, and collapse of moral and religious authority. Now make no assumptions. He did believe that monarchy was not perfect, but it was essential to national stability and was better than mob rule. Overall, he trusted experience, religion, and custom over theoretical blueprints. He opposed Enlightenment rationalism taken to extremes, believed moral truth is found through literature, religion, and experience, not through reason alone. Art and literature were the tools for moral reflection and human truth. Art should uplift, not just entertain. He emphasized the duty, charity, humility, and the struggles of real life over theoretical perfection. He believed that morality always wins over cold reason. From all this discussion, we now know that he was fiercely anti-Whig, skeptical of revolution, popular sovereignty, and reform movements. He was a Tory by heart. Not only that, but he was also anti-American independence. In fact, in one of his 1775 pamphlet called Taxation No Tyranny, Samuel Johnson said, "How is it that we hear the loudest yelps for liberty among the drivers of Negroes?" Johnson wrote Taxation No Tyranny in response to the growing rebellion in the American colonies. Out of all the scholars that Johnson disliked, his dislike for Milton was quite obvious, because Milton was a radical Republican who supported the execution of Charles I and wrote the Tenure of Kings and Magistrates defending regicide. He served in Oliver Cromwell's government, a huge red flag for Johnson, who was a staunch Tory and royalist. Johnson believed kingship was sacred, and he hated what Milton stood for: revolution, regicide, and republicanism. Milton was the last of the great school of men who thought that kings might be lawfully put to death. Quote Johnson. Milton was also a Puritan, suspicious of Anglican tradition and ritual. Johnson, a committed Anglican, saw Puritanism as joyless, arrogant, and disruptive. He disliked Milton's anti-clericalism and rationalist theology, which seemed to downplay human sin and divine grace, both central to Johnson's worldview. Later in his life, Johnson struggled with mental health, probably OCD and depression, which gave him profound insight into human suffering. His conservatism was not cruelty. It was a reaction to chaos rooted in compassion and moral seriousness. This was all about Dr. Samuel Johnson. If you'd like to look at the works of other philosophers from the 18th century, have a look at these lectures.